Hi guys, so this video will help you to understand our SA1 prompt. So as you guys can see here, I am on our modules page right here, and what I have open, you can collapse and expand these modules. So I have the Sunday 9-3 module open because that is where you will find your SA1 materials. So first, you can go ahead and click on the tasks list. And as you guys probably already know, all of these are links, okay? So if you wanted to, for example, click on the prompt, you can click on it and it will open as a PDF in full screen. Or you can also click on this magnifying glass and it will just show up embedded right there in Canvas, right there on the screen. And you can do that for each of the documents that I have up on Blackboard. To make it easier for this video, I will be opening them full screen, but please do know that you have this option available, especially if you're on your phone or iPad or something like that. A lot of the times the magnifying is a lot easier. So we can go ahead and take a look at our prompt. Alright, so you'll notice right away that our deadlines are listed at the top. Okay, you have your Adichie discussion assignment due, then the rhetorical analysis discussion, the rough draft, and the final draft. And towards the end of the video, I will show you where each of those assignments are. Okay, so we can go ahead and take a look here. In preparation for this project, you will view Chiminata Adichie's The Danger of a Single Story. The TED Talk episode discusses stereotypes and their incomplete nature, and how having a single story of a person, place, or culture robs people of their dignity. Your goal is to construct a rhetorical analysis of Adichie's arguments. To do this, you need to write an account of her argument. An account is not the same as a summary, although you will need to do some summary. Your paper should first explain how Adichie's use of specific kinds of evidence supports the argument, and how the argument is constructed in order to evaluate how well the author convinces her intended audience. Keep in mind you are not agreeing or disagreeing with the argument, only analyzing it. This first essay will demonstrate your understanding of rhetorical strategies and appeals, understanding how Adichie is using rhetoric to convince her intended audience, and discussing why she chooses specific rhetorical moves based on her intended audience. Okay, so there's kind of a lot going on in this prompt here, so I do actually want to jump back to Canvas. So let's minimize this here. You'll notice in your task list for 9-3 that we have a rhetorical strategies handout. So again, you can click that magnifying glass and it will open right there. And then there's also a rhetorical strategies lecture that you'll need to watch, and also an advertising discussion board, which will help to practice with the rhetorical strategies. So if we go back to our modules page, you'll notice here, once you get through all of the SA1 materials, you can go ahead and just click straight from the itemized drop-down menu. The handout for rhetorical strategies will open right here, and then you can just scroll to the next item on that module page. So the rhetorical strategies lecture, which will cover rhetorical strategies, the appeals, the rhetorical situation, which we'll talk about as we get to the outline. But this rhetorical strategies lecture is going to be crucial for you to understand what is required for this essay. And then as you scroll, okay, you'll get to the advertising discussion board. I have it locked right now, but I can kind of show you. So the advertising discussion board will have you choose one of these ads here, and you'll pick a rhetorical strategy and write a paragraph on that. So it will simulate basically a body paragraph for your SA1. So this will be a really good practice for you as we progress through this first unit. And so now I want to show you the other materials for SA1. Okay, we do have our rubric. Okay. So you'll notice here, the thesis is strong. It has the effectiveness. The thesis is all about the effectiveness of the rhetorical strategies. The body paragraphs follow logically, etc. You can kind of read through this. And we're aiming, of course, for the strong category in each of these things. So let's move on. I do want to show you the outline because that will kind of crystallize everything that I'm saying here. Okay. So let's go ahead and open it as a file so that we can see this full screen. Okay, here we go. So it opens, and it's a document file because I want you guys to be able to write directly on it. Now, I will not be collecting the outline in class, but I do want you guys to actually use it, fill it in, so that you can come up with a really structured, organized, fully developed essay for paper 1. Do notice that at the top that I have everything in MLA format. All you have to do is double click to change your last name here, change this to 120 if you're in 120, or keep it 1B if this is for 1B, change the deadline of the paper. Okay, but you can go ahead and fill everything in. So like I mentioned before, the rhetorical strategies video is going to cover the rhetorical situation, okay, so the audience, the author, and the purpose of Adichie's text. Then you're going to have the main argument of Adichie's text, and then your thesis, which is something to the effect of Adichie's text is either effective or ineffective in persuading her intended audience. Now for the thesis, you could have a plan of development, which is in brackets here. Plan of development is simply a list of what you're going to talk about in the body paragraphs. So you could list the rhetorical strategies. So you could say Adichie's text is effective because of the exemplification, identification, and narration strategies used. Okay, you don't need to list the rhetorical strategies, but that's optional. What you do need is this first part, okay, whether or not the text is effective in persuading her intended audience. Now, you could take a more qualified approach to this. You could say Adichie's text is somewhat effective or mostly effective. So you could use a qualifier there. And then in the body, you would then explain which strategies are effective and which are not so much. So speaking of the body, here we go. You need to have a summary of her main claims. This can be pretty brief, but here is the meat and potatoes of this paper, the account of the argument. So it should be at least 2 paragraphs. It probably will be more like 3 or 4 paragraphs. Every single body paragraph will be based around a rhetorical strategy. So for example, if you're going to say narration, okay, then that's going to be your first body paragraph. Then you have a quote where she uses narration in her text, and then you need to explain how the narration helps to support her claim. And then you need to explain why the narration is effective in convincing her intended audience. So there's kind of quite a bit to do for each body paragraph, but once you have all of that information, you basically just repeat the same thing for every body paragraph, but every body paragraph will be a different strategy. Now, one caveat here, if you're going to use, say you want to use ethos, pathos, or logos, okay, you need to pair it with something else from the rhetorical strategy lecture, because ethos, pathos, and logos are very, very, very vague and broad. So, for example, you can say that the narration appeals to pathos, or the identification appeals to pathos. But pathos is very broad. There's always going to be another rhetorical strategy that's helping to appeal to the audience's emotions, or pathos. So that's what I ask if you do use an appeal. And then if in your conclusion you want to explain the significance of Adichie's argument. And that is basically the outline for essay 1. I do want to show you, because this is kind of a lot, I do want to show you a sample essay. So if you keep scrolling through the module, you will see a sample essay. Okay, so this is on the same exact prompt, but it's on a different text. Okay, so this student is writing on Miles Traveled, Miles to Go by Erin Kaplan. So we can take a look at her introduction here. She has a good amount of context, okay? So this is all talking about racial prejudice, Barack Obama's presidency, how people feel about his presidency, because that's basically what Kaplan's text is discussing. Okay, and then she goes on to introduce Kaplan's text, Kaplan's audience, and then the student has her thesis. And to kind of make this even clearer, the next document in this module is the same student sample, but I have annotated it, okay? So like I mentioned here, she has a hook, and then she introduces the author's text and argument, and then she identifies the audience of Kaplan's audience, excuse me, which she says consisting of her frequent readers and chance readers of her essay collection. Those are Kaplan's audience members. And then she uses the somewhat effective qualified thesis, which is totally fine, depending on a reader's affinity towards various rhetorical strategies. So notice here she doesn't explicitly state what strategies she's going to talk about. Okay, but that's fine. So then, this is the account of the claims, so I'll let you guys just look at that. But what I really want to show you is this first body paragraph. So the structure here perfectly mirrors the outline. So let's see if we can get these both up here. Okay. So you'll notice here, Kaplan's essay is colorful with vivid and emotional narrations. Here she is identifying the strategy. So right in the topic sentence, she's identifying the strategy. Most often, these narrations serve to evoke an emotion stemming from experience shared between reader and author. There's the purpose of the strategy, and then she has a quote right here of the narration. And then this green part here, she's analyzing the quote and how the quote demonstrates the strategy identified. The word swoon carries a feeling of being swept off one's feet, a very positive emotion, charm and joy. The last sentence, narration contrasts. Only disappointment is left. So this is really good. She's identifying the very specific emotions that are coming from this narration. And then the blue part here is all about the effectiveness of the strategy. Okay, so she has the strategy identified in the topic sentence. She provides a quote. She explains how the strategy supports the claim, and then she explains the effectiveness. So she's following this structure perfectly. With her writing, Kaplan effectively shares her awe and disillusionment by skillfully describing the situation she witnessed and bringing the reader into the moment. Once she imagines him or herself in Kaplan's situation, one gains a better understanding of Kaplan's feelings and realizes the hurt of failed expectations. Her detailed narration also grants her credibility by proving that she personally experienced first hope, then dismay at Obama's lack of action in helping racial minorities. So that is really well written. She's very clearly and thoroughly articulating why the narration and the emotional appeal is convincing Kaplan's audience. So you can kind of take a look even closer at this sample. You can read through the rest of it. It is very well done. And then the last thing that I kind of wanted to show you here in the modules, when we get to the 910 folder, we are going to do a rough draft. So when you click on it, okay, there's instructions at the top. I really want you guys to watch this video. It specifically shows you how to do the peer reviews through Canvas. But what I wanted to show you, there's a rubric here for the rough draft. So when you first submit your rough draft, okay, there will be a submit assignment button here. It says resubmit because I've submitted one as a student already, but it will say submit assignment, and you click on it, and then you just choose a file, okay, and you find your document and attach it, and then you hit submit, okay. Once you submit it, you will be able to see all the other peers who have already submitted their essay, and it will be along the right-hand side here under Assign Peer Reviews. You will click on a student to review, and then this rubric will pop up in the upper right-hand corner. So mine might look slightly different than yours, but when a student submits their paper, you should be able to see it right here on the left. And then you click on View Rubric. Again, in Student View, it might be up here. The rubric might be up here. But either way, you click on it, and then you can go ahead and start filling out strong, satisfactory, or needs improvement for each area of the essay. And then you would hit Save. Okay, let's just do them all. Hit Save. And then you can also leave a comment here. Okay, you can type a comment, and then you can also comment directly on the essay as well by using the tools at the top. So there's a lot that you can do with the peer review. Okay, so that is kind of the basics, but again, the video tutorial link right here, completing peer reviews on Canvas, is really, really specific to what you can see in the student view. So please watch that in its entirety. And then when you're ready to submit the final draft, it will be in the 917 folder. So it says Submit Essay 1 here, you click on it, okay, and then there will be a link up here for Submit Assignment. So Submit Assignment is right here. Notice the rubric appears, it's worth 100 points for the final draft, and you can see kind of the different categories. When you click on description, okay, it'll show you exactly what I'm looking for. So you submit assignment just like you did for the rough draft, you know, choose file and submit. And then there will also be a box to agree to put your assignment on Turnitin. So you click that box to agree to do that. It's not here at the moment, but you will see it on this submission page. So that is basically the ins and outs of the essay. We went over the prompt, the outline, the sample essays, how to submit your rough draft and final draft. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me.